lunch meeting. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
So I do want to discuss our business relationship and how we've been going about with helping the Big Cheese as an agency. Blaze PR sent you a memo about our budget, and I did want to talk with you about the value of our service and the budget that will need to be brought up.
Yeah, so if you could explain to me why there was a 24% increase in the services. You know, I never saw the revised budget guidelines, so it'd be really great if you could explain to me why there was an increase and why also, you know, you guys took the verbal okay as a green light.
Right, and I appreciate that insight. When we originally had our discussions with you about a year ago, we did bring up how there would be approximately 20% increase in the original estimate, and how, you know, now it's a 24% is what we are given, which is still within that range. Over the last year, things have come up for the proposal that were not expected. We realized that the Big Cheese is wanting to expand its product line, and so it brought in 2 gluten-free menu items, and then that caused the plan to be increased in terms of budget just to accommodate for those on all the promotional assets. So that was one of the items that caused the budget to increase. The other was just the, in the last year, our firm has wonderfully been acknowledged by certain agencies as being a top-notch firm and winning awards. And because of that, we've had to increase our own prices as well, just to ensure that you are getting the best service as we can provide. So those are really the 2 main reasons why that has happened. I will say, though, that we have sent invoices, and we did go through with the verbal okay from you because we thought that you had read through them and that you acknowledged the contents. So we did go through with the verbal agreement.
Yeah, so I see a couple discrepancies. I don't recall discussing any increases in price. That's great that you guys are being recognized as a better firm, but I don't recall going through those. Additionally, you know, 24% isn't in the 20% if that was at all discussed. And so the verbal okay was from someone at, supposedly someone at my business, not me, myself. So, you know, I think in the future it would be better if you could at least wait for the verbal okay from me, if you're, especially if it's going to be, you know, a higher price range than we had agreed to. So, right. You know, I'm not comfortable paying the 24% just because it's not something that we discussed. So is there any, you know, wiggle room with you guys, or what are you thinking?
Well, I guess before we do get into that, and I recognize your concerns, I guess one thing we would need to discuss before getting into the budget is the right individual involved in receiving those, and how we can proceed with making sure that you're getting exactly what you want, and we are you know, fulfilling our needs as an agency. So I'm not sure who you would recommend that we continue our negotiations with, or you know, our content approval. But we would just need to know that up front.
Yeah, I think I could be the person to deal with the communications from here on out.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And we did, and you know, I will say that we did mention approximately 20%. I just, for the sake of our posters, which are in development right now that we need to pay for out of house, they're not done in house, those still need to be paid for. Otherwise, we won't be able to take them and be able to provide them or give them to you. So in that way, some of that cost is out of our hands right now. But we can definitely go into another talks with you about how we can scale down the operation cost. I would still say that, you know, we went through with the verbal agreement because we thought that was what would be needed to go through with this project. So I don't think this is going to be, I think we can definitely make a compromise for sure.
So, and going forward with the rest of the plan, what would that compromise look like?
We might need to scale down our service. You know, again, we didn't realize going into this, or we didn't account for going into this, the changes that would take place within the restaurant to grow the restaurant with the menu items. We know that's brought you a lot of service, and we value the promotions we've already given to you, which we think have grown your clientele and your audience. But we would probably need to scale back a few of the things that were originally in our long-term plan. And while that may not lead to as much profit for you all, we do think that at least would meet the salary or the rate that you're wanting to go with this reduced budget.
And could you give me an idea of what exactly would be eliminated?
Not until we know for sure what what exactly we need to scale down. So I would need to get with my finance department about that, but I'd be happy to get those numbers to you as soon as possible.
And is there any way that we could lower the 24% increase?
We would need to go back and crunch the numbers to see what exactly needs to be paid upfront to the poster makers, because that, unless the posters are not being wanted, they're just going to remain at the poster printer.
Yeah, no, I know you need to make a profit, but I again wasn't expecting this, and it is significantly out of my price range. So I definitely want the service that we agreed to, but if you could knock some of that profit percentage off of there, perhaps that would be helpful for me.
Right, and I agree, and I definitely want to continue this relationship. I do just want to acknowledge that we do need to be upfront with any changes that go forth with the restaurant. Again, that was a consideration we didn't know about with the different items getting on there, and the changes, and I think that did affect the price. So I think transparency on both ends is really something we would love to achieve. But I think we can reach something lower than 24%. It's just going to take a little bit more time to figure out what exactly. But we do appreciate your business, and we do want to continue with you as a partner.
Okay. So I guess after you crunch the numbers, you could get back to me about what the new estimate would be for the posters.
Exactly. And again, if there's any other changes that you're taking place at the restaurant, we would also like to know that so we can account for that in our budget.
Yeah. And as I said before, I can be the person going forward with the communications.
Okay, and I as well.
Great.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go back to our different respective firms, and we'll get back together soon or talk online. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day for this.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.